Hello and welcome back to English class. In today's video, we're going to be looking at how to write an article, part 2 of proficiency writing. So what is the difference between an article and an essay? Well, an essay tends to be more formal in its approach, whereas an article can have a bit of an informality in it. So an article tends to be published for magazines, international magazines, or newspapers as well, whereas an essay tends to be published for, let's say, university or a college class. The topics in an article can be quite serious, or they could be quite trivial. So it depends on who our target reader is. Be it serious or be it trivial, the sole intention is to both inform the reader and entertain him or her at the same time. So now we know that an article can be formal or informal, and it can be published for a magazine, international magazine, a blog, even a newsletter, a newspaper. There's some things that we should consider before actually writing our article, after we see the task ahead. We need to look at the task and consider which information is relevant. So that means, if you like, taking a pen or pencil and underlining the key content points. Basically, check what you have to talk about. If you're starting to talk about A, don't end up talking about Z, okay? So stick to what is relevant in the article. Remember, you have to engage the reader, so please consider the fact that you may have to be descriptive in your writing or even narrative. And based on who your target audience is, what kind of language do you have to use? Is it more of a formal tone, or is it a bit semi-formal? Now, once you get down to writing and you have in your head entertain and also inform the reader, you could start your article with a very inviting title, and then underneath a very riveting introduction. Maybe the introduction could include a rhetorical question at the end, and which can only be answered if the reader were to finish reading the article. So that would entice the reader, you see. Try to capture the reader's imagination. And very importantly, the introduction must reflect what the text is about, just like the title. Okay, maybe you've worked on the introduction. Now you're going on to the first paragraph in the body. So you should now be asking yourself, am I sticking to the content points? Am I going a bit off topic? So if you haven't, fantastic. Make sure you're going to use clear, coherent paragraphs. So your first body paragraph, you might look to use some advanced grammatical structures, okay? And you could even do this in the plan. You could write down, okay, in my article I'm going to use some inversions. Rarely do I have the time to, okay, or scarcely is he, yeah? Maybe a third conditional. Maybe it's a passive structure. Okay, so make a list of all of the structures, grammatical structures, or even expressions and idioms you would like to include in your article before you even start writing, because it's so easy to forget. So make note. Okay, so now you've included some of this, or these lexemes that you're going to look to use, collocations, inversions, idioms, expressions, this colourful language in your article. As you've finished, you should check back through it. Why? Well, to check for any errors, be it grammatical errors, be it spelling or punctuation. Check back through it. It's very important you do so. You check back through your article and you find that you've repeated a word. Could you find a synonym for that word? Try to avoid repetition. Imagine you've written the phrase, I like spending time with my friends. How would you say I like in a different way? I am fond of spending time, or I am keen on spending time with my friends, you see. So try to show that you have a very broad range of English at your disposal. The final thing would be to ask yourself some of these questions. For example, you're going to be marked on your content, right? So you should ask yourself, have I completed the task? Okay, remember this was the thing you underlined? Organisation. Is my article organised in a coherent and concise way? The language. Did I use a wide range of vocabulary? Style. Very important. Did I use the same style throughout? Was I consistent in my writing? And finally, did I interest the reader? Okay, so now that you know all of the nuts and bolts of an article, why not have a go yourself? We're going to talk about a structure that we could use when answering this article task. The task is, you are a student at an international college. Your tutor has asked you to write an article for the college website on ways students can improve language skills outside the classroom. In your article, you should suggest ways in which students can make contact with English language speakers. You should also assess whether the most effective way of improving language skills is to make friends with speakers of the language. Okay, so this is a bit of a structure that you could use when tackling a task like this. First of all is the title. Our title could be, in relation to the task, a fun way to learn English. Now, remember this task, one of the main content points is to suggest ways. So our introduction could present the main idea. Now, in the introduction, after the title, we're going to be introducing a main idea. Okay, so what we are going to talk about. We have the title, now the introduction. We could say, in today's intercultural society, no one can deny the importance of learning a second language, especially English. And then you go on to develop your introduction. You could even end your introduction with a nice rhetorical question or captures the reader's attention. This task will require working with a holistic approach. So are you ready? Now, our first body paragraph, we have to relate back to the task content points. And if you remember rightly, it was talking about suggesting ways in which students could make contact with English language speakers. So after our introduction, this paragraph could be, our first idea is to use the internet. And now you could have a go at suggesting ways in which the internet would help this cause. After this paragraph, then you could introduce a second idea. A second idea is to organize reading or conversation clubs. Now this is just an idea that I've given you. Remember, put your own touch on it. Now the final paragraph is the final idea. Remember, another task content point was to assess whether the most effective way of improving language skills is to make friends with native speakers. So I could start my final paragraph by saying something like, a final idea is for the college to create a web page where students can engage in, and then you can note down what the students could engage in through this website. Now, some final tips. It is important to write your article between 250 to 350 words. So if you aim to write around 300 words, that would be perfect. Of course, now marks will be reduced for articles that have been written much shorter, or they have been written with a significant amount of extra words, so just be careful. Just like spelling and punctuation, marks would also be reduced if you don't pay attention to your handwriting, okay? So just make sure your handwriting is clear and you check back through your article and you can confirm that it is clear and, of course, every word is visible on the page. Okay guys, that is all from English class today. I hope you liked the video. If you did, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye for now.